Detroit Lions will rise.
All right. Hey, I bet everyone already heard this news, but we're going to talk about it for just a quick moment. So welcome into this breaking edition of Detroit Lions News by Rockhound Detroit Lions. Tanner Engstrand, he is out, and that is 3 strikes and you're out, man. That is more than 3 coaches, though. We've lost a lot of coaches over the last, 12 days now that this has been going on here in the coaching carousel for 2025. So Jets have obviously already put the contract together for Tanner Engstrand and have elected to hire him away from the Detroit Lions. Now, Engstrand did draw some interest around the league. Seahawks, Bucks, Patriots, and it kind of just seemed like at some point he was going to end up in New York. Honestly, I don't even know what took so long, to be honest with you, especially after the Lions hired Coach Shaw, because that really seemed like the final straw for Engstrand. If you understand what I'm saying here, I mean, you hire Shaw as a passing game coordinator. You already hired an offensive coordinator with Morton. What was Engstrand waiting around for? What was he going to do? So I think the writing's been on the wall this entire time. Now, I think the only thing that really stood up this process is something that's a little interesting here. So Nick Cali, the coach from the Rams that I have spoke about last week, and I think Monday or Tuesday of this past week, as somebody that I did like, to hopefully join the Lions staff in some degree, doesn't seem like it's going to happen. He wants an offensive coordinator position. I think that most of them are sewed up at this point, but he was the top choice for New York. He was the top choice for New York for the offensive coordinator position. And I guess in the last, 12 hours or 24 hours, whatever it's been, he declined. He decided not to join the Jets job or join the Jets and take that job. So, the number one candidate for the Jets turned him down. I mean, I guess they're going to their second option, which was Tanner. Now, if I was Tanner, I wouldn't feel great about that being someone's second fiddle. But, I think that when he threw his hat in the ring, he kind of threw his hat out of Detroit at the same time. It kind of happens. The Lions weren't going to mess around. They weren't going to wait. They weren't going to wait for everybody to be gone, and then they're left with nothing. But what's interesting to me is the Lions just didn't go after these names that you've heard of, right? They didn't go after the names that everybody else was going after. And isn't that kind of eerily similar to the way they draft? When you think about it, the Lions have been going after players at different positions at different times in the draft that no one's even thinking about. Well, I mean, I did for a couple of seasons, but that's a different story. This is just, it's different to me that the Lions are doing this their way, right? It's always been their way. And they're finding guys that aren't even really being talked about. So, with Morton joining this team as the offensive coordinator, that to me is going to give us a different identity on this offense. I mean, a lot of it is still going to remain. I'll talk about that in just a moment. So Cali was out in New York, and the next option on the market for New York was Tanner Engstrand. So he is now going to be the Jets offensive coordinator. It is beneficial by multiple sources. But let's talk about Shaw for just a moment. It's not going to be a long live, but I want to talk about Shaw for just a moment here, because bringing in Shaw as the passing game coordinator, like I said, I think between him and Morton, the dust was already settled in Detroit. They already knew what they were going to do. Tanner was probably going to be out, right? No matter what, because there was really not a position for him to come back to. So Shaw now coming back to football after leaving football in 2022. He stepped down from Stanford. I mean, he had a great first 6-7 years in Stanford, multiple double-digit win seasons, I think more than 5 or 6 in a row. And then it kind of just turned slowly and gradually. And then the last few seasons, they went like 4-9 or something like that, 3-8. And he stepped away. And then he accepted a position with the NFL Network. He was doing some broadcasting. And then he decided to join the Broncos this last season, where he had served, what was he there? What was his position over there? He was some sort of an executive personnel. Here we go. Senior personnel executive with the Broncos in 2024. And he served in that same organization as, watching the Lions offensive coordinator, John Morton, take the position with the Lions. So it's kind of fitting to watch these guys, come work together in Detroit. But Shaw cutting his teeth again in the NFL, right? He's back to coaching. I have a question for you, and I would love to know, obviously, in the comments below, in the chat, you tell me, are you concerned at all about Shaw and the fact that he's been away from football for basically 3 seasons, or about 2 seasons, 2.5 seasons, whatever it's been? And it was in a personnel executive role with the Broncos, but not on the sideline, not mocking up plays, right? Not dialing up passing plays, right? He's sitting in an office. Does that concern you at all? Does it really ever leave you? I guess is the biggest question. Does it really ever leave you? And what did he gain by stepping away from football for a couple of seasons? Those are the questions that I have. I have no question about the guy's resume. I have no question about who he is as an individual. I think he's a perfect fit in Detroit. I just don't know how long he lasts. And I say that because he might be gone here in a year or two. And he could be, in the next head coaching carousel, in 26 or 27, which is not a bad thing. I think it's probably going to be somewhat normalized in Detroit as long as we continue to maintain the same level of offensive prowess that these guys are going to end up moving on. It's going to be more familiar to us, right? More familiar. So my question again, do you have any concerns about Shaw that he was away from football for a few seasons? And now he's coming back to the Lions, who, it's a very well-oiled machine, highly organized organization, and they have all the pieces in place to make another Super Bowl run here in 2025. So that's my question there. But a couple of highlights here. We've hired quite a few guys over the last week. And the one thing that I think that we can all rest our hat on is this. Morton absolutely loves to run the ball. Always has. And so I think what we're going to see back in Detroit are the days where it's going to be more of a run-first approach, which is exactly what we should have been doing in the game against Washington. Had Morton been on the sideline then, I don't think that we would have ever went away from the run game. That was working, and it was working to a high degree. So not only is the run game going to come back, but that opens up what? That opens up everything for Jared Goff and what he does, which is play pass. So all the play action, that's going to be there. It's what Jared excels in. And oh, by the way, big congratulations to Jared Goff. Number 1-6 out there at the Pro Bowl, winning the accuracy challenge with 44 points. Dude was on fire, hit every single mark, and they had to reset it for him to throw it again. No one else did that other than Jared Goff. So big ups to Jared, man, and putting the show on in the Pro Bowl games. So anyway, so Shaw, Morton, they're going to be leading our offense. I'm excited to see what it's going to look like. Fortunately for us, I think it's going to benefit the pieces that we already have. And that is Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. And then the play action pass. Amon-Ra does Amon-Ra things. He loves to live, eat, and breathe over the middle of the field. And that's where he makes his money. Having these guys in the Motor City, I think it's going to be fun to watch in 2025. But, I'm more curious to see what's going to happen with the defensive side of the football. That side of the football is where I'm a little bit more curious. With Calvin Shepard, what is he going to do? And is he learned enough from Aaron Glenn? And is he learned enough from everybody else he's been around to do something a little bit better and a little bit different? And hopefully be a little bit more versatile and a lot less stubborn, because I don't think that we could go through that for another 3-4 seasons of watching someone stubborn on the sideline. So anyway, appreciate you guys all joining me here in the chat today. No, I'm still not feeling the greatest. That's why I couldn't make it this morning. The mornings are the toughest. So I'm hoping that by Monday, everything will be good. I'm still planning on tomorrow afternoon to do the Senior Bowl. I'm usually good around 1 o'clock anyway. And hopefully get it rolling next week. So I know Riley wants to step up and help out. So we're going to try to get him rolling. That way he can fill in on the days that I'm not here, not doing that well, because I do got to go to Cleveland next week too. So anyway, quick questions, statements, anything in the chat that you guys want out there? Let's see. Trey says, absolutely not. It's like riding a bike. You don't ever forget, talking about, Shaw taking a few seasons away from football. And she's expecting that, hey, he's going to come back and do the damn thing. Let's hope so. I think he has enough resources, right? I think he's been around enough resources. And he has a ton of guys, in that locker room that'll help him get up to speed on anything that he needs. I really think that Jared's going to have a big hand in developing this offense anyway. I really do. Mike P says, I think sometimes stepping back gives you a broader perspective of the game, gives you a more updated perspective. That's a great point. So, sometimes you take an option to sit back and just watch, especially being in the booth, right? If you're calling games, if you're part of the broadcast team, they actually get a view into what these teams are doing before the game. That's why it was such a big deal for Brady not being able to go into the locker room, right? He's not able to do certain things as a broadcaster because they're given material. They're kind of given the playbook, if you will, to a degree, of what these teams are going to do that day. So, I mean, why do you think it's so easy for them to call what's going on? They know what's going on. They have a real big view into what these teams are doing, and that's why Brady had very strict rules. So where this lines with Shaw is, he's kind of given an idea of what all these other teams are doing and what's working and what's not. And it does kind of give you that great reset, if you will. So good point by Mike P. Also says Mike P that he's more concerned about the defense, and that's all he will say. I'm a little bit concerned too. I think that we're going to be fine draft-wise, and I think we identified a few people last night in the East-West Shrine game. I'm really excited to see the Reese's Senior Bowl and who steps out of that. But there's some good defensive linemen in this draft. I don't know how deep it's going to be just yet. I haven't even evaluated 20 guys yet. That's how slow it's been going for me. But I'll take my time, and we got plenty of time to get through it. So Southwest 26 says the easy thing to do would have been to promote Tanner or Scotty. I hope MCDC gets this one right. I'm with you. I really would have loved to have seen Scotty step up into that offensive coordinator position. I don't know why. It's a head scratcher to me. I thought for sure Scotty would have been a shoo-in. Who's Gray Zabel? I don't know what that is, Trace. Obviously, feel free to message me on the Voxer. I don't know what that is. Anyway, so that's your news for today. Tanner's gone. Lions seem set, and or Senior Bowl online. Yeah, I'll check it out. Tanner's gone. Lions seem set in their coaching staff right now. We still have a few more pieces, which I don't have in front of me exactly what we have left to hire. But there's a few more pieces that the Lions are going to have to hire. I mean, obviously, when you lose coordinators and assistants, you're going to have to backfill those. So far, we've elevated a couple. We've brought in a few new names. And now it's time to backfill and reload for our future and get some good quality assistance in there. Southwest Line 26 says, one really good point I heard made about John Morton. Apparently, he's very good on the screen pass part of the offense, which I think the Lions could use more with Gibbs and Monty. That would be refreshing. I've kind of heard the same thing. And if you go back and watch, which is what I'm doing right now, is I'm trying to go back and watch some of the Stanford tape to kind of see what they like to do. Now, if I remember correctly, McCaffrey would have been on one of his teams. So, I mean, he knows all about having good running backs. But the most important thing that I was screaming about all this season was screen pass, screen pass, screen pass. We did it a few times. We didn't do it enough. And I really think with Jameer's ability to do things in space and his speed, I mean, it's just a play that's going to work. And it should work, especially with this offensive line. So anyway, we'll see what happens. Won't be too much longer. This season is going to be here, and we'll be rolling. Lions will be back in it. 14-3 is what's going to win this season for us and probably get us into the 1 seed again. That's my early prediction on the season. But now we have to get through all of the rest of the season to kind of see where we're going to line up. This is going to be a big draft and a big free agency for these Detroit Lions because they have to reload. They have to get younger again, and they need to bring in a couple of veterans. So we'll be talking all about that stuff more next week. We're going to be highlighting a free agency for every position. We'll probably do 2 a day starting on Monday and try to get through all the positions here in a couple of weeks. And then things will become a little bit more clear as we head towards the draft as to more draft work that we're going to put in, just who's available and what makes sense for the Lions in the first couple of rounds. So, all right, we'll see you guys here tomorrow. If I don't plan on jumping on later on tonight, which I don't, I'll see you guys tomorrow for the Reese's Senior Bowl. And that's it. Go Lions, go One Pride. Thank you for joining me today. We'll see you guys a little bit later. Bye-bye.